Hey everybody, this is Goddess Kendra. Thank you everybody who has supported my channel. And thank you to the haters. So I want to talk about an episode of American Dad, which was aired on February 8, 2007. It's entitled American Black Mystery Month. This is season 2, episode 13. While researching a paper about George Washington Carver in celebration of Black History Month, Steve uncovers a conspiracy that's been going on since the Civil War. So it starts out with them learning about Black History Month in class. His teacher's a European male, and then there's a African lady talking to them, and she's just like, So he's like, have you ever seen black people before? Then he's like, something. And then he's like, we only desire to be with the black man once a year. Okay, now you're making our whole existence in a homosexual way. I thought that was really strange. So the teacher's saying some like pretty disrespectful things related to African history, which I tell you guys, yes, I have an opinion, but I'm culturally sensitive and I get along with most. I've been able to be around different culture of people or even work with people from all over the world. So I'm very understanding, especially to people whose English isn't their first language, and I'm not rude or disrespectful. So at the end of the fuckery, the teacher's like, now do a paper about a black person. So Steve was like, oh, I like George, he was like, I like peanut butter. So why don't you do it on George Washington Carver? As Steve goes to the store, he notices that all the peanut butters have a, a pyramid with the peanut butter. And he's like, well, why does all this peanut butter have this on there? So then he's like, I need to look into this. So he starts researching, and then he calls this mysterious person who has information from a payphone. He's like, okay, meet me. So then right when Steve is supposed to meet this person, mystery person, the person is found dead in a mouth of a George Washington Carver, and there's like a secret message. It says look into the condom or something, but then because he has dyslexia, it says look in the monarch or something to that degree. So he's doing his research. When he was at the booth calling, some drunk person randomly hits him and goes, I'm just a drunk, I'm not trying to kill you. So as he's looking for information, the CIA is trying to kill him, and he notices that they have that symbolism with the peanut, and the principal from the school has the same peanut. He's like, oh, the principal goes, there's somebody trying to put chocolate in peanut butter, and they're like, he must be stopped. So after Steve is doing all this research, people are trying to kill him, and finally his father breaks it down. He's like, who you thought created peanut butter did not create peanut butter. He said, let me tell you the story. So it goes back to Abe Lincoln creating peanut butter, and then like some years later giving George Washington Carver the credit for that. So I'm like, So Steve has that little monarch type of thing in his hand, and his dad's like, give it to me, son, and I'll explain. And then he goes, only the Illuminati know. I'm like, so they know what they're doing. They put this out during Black History Month. So then that makes me to really believe that our history, which should be our story, not his story, everything we've learned is a damn lie. So before I go into it more. Oh, and then there was one thing he said that basically, because they try to say Abe Lincoln was not something, and so he gave the credit to a black man. They were trying to say that he wasn't racist, but like Abraham Lincoln had slaves, and then they try to say he freed the slaves, which is not true. It was like, when me and my wife Martha die, then you're free. But then there's something I seen on the internet, that it was like a picture, and they were trying to say Abraham Lincoln is actually an African man or whatever. He wore the big top hat allegedly to cover up his curly hair, and the photo I saw was of a darker skinned black man. So, I'm just saying, and people be like, where'd you find your sources? I'm not giving my sources away. You don't do that. So let's get into it, y'all. I'm going to read you guys a list of inventions that Mr. Washington Carver created. Can you give me one moment? There you go. It's a long list. So this is a short list of things of peanut butter products discovered by George Washington Carver. We got peanut punch, peanut beverage flakes, all-purpose cream, cosmetics, antiseptic soap, body massage cream, face bleach and tan remover, facial lotion, facial powder, peanut oil shampoo, shaving cream, tetter and dandruff cure, vanishing cream, 30 different dyes of cloth, 19 dyes for leather, 17 different wood stains, hen food from the peanut heart, 3 different kinds of stock foods, bar candy, caramel, chili sauce, chocolate coated peanuts, curd, dry coffee, flavoring paste, meat substitute, peanut brittle, peanut cake, peanut flour, peanut popcorn balls, peanut relish, peanut tofu sauce, salad oil, vinegar, castor oil substitute, iron tonic, axle grease, diesel fuel, gasoline glue, lubrication oil, white paper from the vines, printing ink, plastic rubber, laundry shampoo. So those are just a few things that this man has created. But that's interesting. Like, I always tell people about astrology and numerology that they know who they are, play off of numbers and certain things. And it just had me really thinking, like, do we really pay attention to what we watch? Because Star Trek said some stuff back in 1964 that didn't happen till 1999 and 2000. How would people know that? Let's just be real. So now I'm going to break it down. Okay, so let's get started. I'm reading this from Fandom. So like I said, the product number for this episode is 2AJN20. First aired February 18, 2007. Featuring Stephen Smith and Stan Smith. Also appearing Haley, Roger, Francine, Claus, Principal Lewis, Barry, Tashi, Barry, Dennis, Old Glory, President Peanut, The A-Team, Jimmy Carter, Abraham Lincoln, Mary Todd Lincoln, Major Henry Rathbone, John Wilkes Booth, Grover Cleveland, George Washington Carver. Director is Brent Woods. Assistant director is Chris Barnett. Writer is Laura McCreary. And storyboarders is John O'Day and Kevin Thresher. So the pilot, while searching a paper about George Washington Carver in celebration of Black History Month, Steve discovers a mysterious symbol consisting of a peanut in a pyramid. He asks Principal Lewis to extend his work, but as he leaves, the camera zooms in on the same symbol as a tattoo on the left wrist. He calls someone saying, "We've got some chocolate in our peanut butter." Steve calls the curator of the Smithsonian Peanut Butter Museum, figuring the symbol is nothing but the curator saying it is very huge and says that the truth must come out, but warns Steve that they are watching him. Just then, Steve is nearly run over by a car, but it is actually a drunk driver. The next day, Steve leads that the curator was mysteriously murdered, leaving a dying, bloody message in the elf condom, which the police assume to be a horny midget who plays it safe. But Steve's selective dyslexia rearranges it to find the monocle. He locates the monocle in the cruder clock, which has the symbol on it. But as he leaves, a car pulls up and a man steps out saying that he had won a free air conditioner. At first excited, Steve then recoils when he sees the symbol on the man's neck, who pulls out a gun. He is luckily saved by the same drunk driver, but the other assassins chase him into an alley where he is carried away by a black masked figure who turns out to be Stan. He explains to Steve that he just stumbled onto the most dangerous secret in American history, and those men want to pay him for it with his life. He advises Steve to give up his quest, only for Steve to show him the monocle. But due to Steve's refusal to do so or give it up, Stan agrees to help him. In a Bing vote, Stan explains that the true inventor of the peanut butter was Mary Todd Lincoln, President Lincoln's wife, as a means of keeping away evil spirits. Shortly before the end of the Civil War, Lincoln feared that the South could only be forced into abolishing slavery, and that would lead to further conflict. He then realizes that the butter would be an ideal method of making the Southerners accept blacks as their equal by introducing a delicious snack to the South and crediting the invention to a black person. However, before the plan could be put to action, John Wilkes Booth got wind of the plan and shot Lincoln. 31 years later, the plan was revealed by President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland head of the young black botanist Carver, who had invented over 300 uses for peanuts. Cleveland consulted an indigenous plan to allow Carver to receive credit by leaving a jar of the peanut butter to an unknowing Carver, who receives the credit for the invention. Stan further explains that there was a legacy jar of proof that had evidence proving that Carver had not invented it, but an organization called the Illuminati was dedicated to find the jar and destroying it, fearing that the truth will cause the country to descend back to racism and hatred. Steve decides that the truth has to be revealed, and Stan agrees. He brings up a map he found years ago, which can only be read by monocle, but it is a message to find the pole that bore Old Glory. At a strip club, Stan assumes that it is a flag, but Steve finds out that it's actually a pole-shaped cane that bore America's first stripper. Using this artifact in conjunction on the message with the sun in the sky, it burns up, revealing another message leading to the National Botanical Garden. Finding a big hat like the one on President Peanut, they decide that they must go to the first President Peanut and head to the Lincoln Memorial and place the artifact on Lincoln's statue. Leads them underground, where in the middle of the pit of lava they discover a small rocky island with a jar of proof. Stan strains to reach the jar. As he does, Steve notices the symbol of the Illuminati tattooed on his back. He manages to switch the jar with a regular peanut butter jar and attempt to run away, only to bump into President Jimmy Carter, the second president, President Peanut, the man who has been secretly following them and crunching peanuts in his hand in frustration. Carter and Stan both explain to Steve that the American people can never know the truth about peanut butter because it will lead to the end of racial harmony. Wow, that's racist as fuck. Steve denies this, convincing Stan that America is growing up, who winks and gives the backpack with a jar to Carter. Shortly afterward, Carter is hit by a falling debris and falls into the lava pit along with the backpack. Stan and Steve then escape the collapsing temple and then realize that Stan fails to switch the jar. They don't actually have the jar of proof, so Steve decides that there is one place where a person can put out crazy information with no evidence that millions will accept as true, and writes an article called The Truth About Peanut Butter on Wikipedia. Stan also agrees to take the internet block off Steve's computer. Meanwhile, Haley and Roger play Jenga. Roger takes forever to make a move, thinking getting an engineer for advice and making second stack to test his move before. Finally, he makes a move and then screams at Haley as she hesitates a moment before moving herself. That is crazy as heck, man. Like, I always pay attention to things. It's like a lot of the times we can see something and then because it goes over your head, you don't question it. Like, if I'm listening to a song and someone says a word I don't recognize, like Immortal Technique, when he says stuff, I look up stuff. And then the next time I hear it, I'm like, okay, I know what that word means. So my whole thing was to bring it to y'all attention if anybody else noticed that. I mean, I didn't watch this show until a few years ago, so I'm only on season 2. But pay attention to what the media tells y'all because a lot of us are fooled. We sit here and just believe anything. Have a wonderful day.